Yo, what it do? What business is? Your boy DT3, the Boom Beezy, and you're welcome with the boy MMA Bet Surgeon. We back at you again with the Combat Cannon. Welcome to the Sheezy, man. I want to thank everybody for sliding through for the show, man. Got your good MMA news going on today, man. We got a lot going on in MMA past, week? We had like 6 fights in like 9 days. Like, man, just 6 big cards in 9 days. Just crazy. Crazy.
Well, you're close there. You're double a little bit just because of the excitement, Boone, and I hear it because they were so exciting. I think we could have counted it as 6 main cards, but it was 3, but still 3 super exciting main cards that I think that, man, I like I said, kick the year off to really be a kind of a tone setter, a caliber setter for the rest of the year, and as far as like how it's gonna look and everything goes, man, like just because I'll start it off here. And this is kind of one that Boone didn't get to catch with him. Me and Boone didn't actually even get to watch the last main card as well, which is kind of better because me and him get to kind of shoot kind of some of our initial reactions and kind of what we thought about the fights and stuff off of each other live for the first time, which is always good to do. You know what I mean? But as far as for like a recap, taking it over real quick, just for the Wednesday card, we had Chiesa take on Neil Magny, and man, even in that fight. I don't know who you picked. I don't remember. We did break it down a little bit just to kind of speed over it before when we were breaking down both cards in our last Combat Cannon. But I actually had Neil Magny. I thought that Neil Magny was going to have some way to pull it off. Bigger fan of Chiesa, but I just thought that Magny with that kind of resurgence in his career would have something, man. People, if you were following me live, if you were looking at my bet lines, if you're following my betting videos, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. We were still making money. We actually in these past 3 cards, and we'll keep talking about it just because, you know what I mean. Like Boone was saying, me and Boone were talking about offline. You could toot your own horn if you fucking can toot it. You know what I mean? And especially if you don't give a fuck. And in this case scenario, I had 3 pretty good main cards in a row, capping it off with, we'll get to it, having another good main card. But as far as that event went, Boone, I think you might have had Chiesa, eh? You took Chiesa in that fight?
I picked Chiesa, but I didn't think he was going to win that way. I thought he was going to catch him on his feet. But Chiesa, just mauled him.
He kind of did
it on the ground. I mean, great masterclass of groundwork from both men. But Chiesa just had that little niche that Magny he just couldn't get past. He just had that little itch. And I think that's what gave Chiesa the edge. I thought Chiesa was going to kind of catch him on his feet. But, I mean, and the thing, what also puzzled me is why did Magny all of a sudden late in the fight wanted to start taking the fight like against the cage? And why did he try to take the fight against the ground? That didn't make sense to me. He was losing the fight that way. You're losing the fight taking it against the cage. You're losing the fight on the ground. Why would you take it there if that's where you're losing the fight? That makes no sense to me.
What was crazy to me is like in that fight, like exactly what you were saying is Magny's kind of game plan seemed kind of off. You know what I mean? It didn't seem proper for a guy like Chiesa. Like as far as Chiesa's game plan, that was kind of what we kind of thought he would have kind of employed. We thought he might actually get the finish of the sub, right? Like a guy who's third highest in rear naked chokes, a guy who loves to get those submissions on the ground, very slippery, like we saw in the fight, very heavy top pressure. You know what I mean? Able to kind of stick to you like glue, like they were saying a lot. Glue, you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy how some of those guys can show that skill gap in something like wrestling, and it'll be very. It's a vast difference. You know what I mean? So I think that it's very good. I think that what we saw from Chiesa was huge. I think that like I kind of noted, now moved into number 6 spot at the welterweight division. So now we start asking the question. We start going, okay, man. Like now that you're up to Tyron Woodley's down 1 and has now just got a fight booked with Vicente Luque at 9. There's no way Chiesa is going to fight a guy like Damian Maia at 8. It's only up from here. So does he take on a guy at number 5 like Stephen Thompson? Does he take a guy on at number 4 like Jorge Masvidal? But even though there's already been kind of fights brewing, kind of fights talking about, you know, Jorge Colby and stuff like that already kind of in the works. And we already know that Gilbert's taking on Kamaru Usman, and we're going to talk about that coming up. But I don't know, man. Like now it's kind of Chiesa's kind of playing the waiting game, right? It's kind of either do I stay active and maybe take a guy that's not as high ranked as me, or maybe even fight a guy like a Stephen Thompson. You know what I mean? But like the one ranking spot, I know a guy like Chiesa, especially after this, he's looking to try and probably at least move up 2 spots. I mean, I know these rankings don't play a lot of into a lot of anything. You know what I mean? You can talk your way into just about anything. You can put on a performance that will get you into that spot. Unfortunately, a guy like Chiesa and what we kind of see maybe to certain people isn't the most interesting. You know what I mean? And certain fans, especially guys like Dana White, aren't going to be too heavy to go, well, we need to see that guy in a title shot soon. You know what I mean? Like, definitely not. You know what I mean? That's definitely not the kind of motivation. But like, as far as a person, as far as what he's gone through, as far as what he's already shown in other divisions, and now moving up to welterweight, man, I thought he looked great. I think that hats off to Michael Chiesa, and like I said, I mean, love to see him win. And I'll just give a quick mention to Warlley Alves knocking out Mona Laziz, because that's another one. That was the co-main to that card. And 2 guys that, you know, weren't, Warlley Alves obviously being a lot well-known, kind of year off of fighting until that point. But Mona Laziz, kind of a guy that undefeated in the UFC, coming in there trying to make a name for himself. I think he was already 3-0. And man, starched. Shots to the body right off the bat. The smaller man, Warlley Alves, kind of came at him like a pinball, like a cannonball. Kind of went right at him with shots. Lots of good shots to the body. I believe he landed a couple kicks to the body too. Crumpled him from the body, and then once he was down from the body shots, it was able to finish it upstairs rather fast. I believe it was in like 2 minutes or something. Now, don't quote me on that, people. Like I said, it has been a minute since since I've watched that card. Obviously, we've been having so many new fights, and it's been kind of rolling on down the line. But well, now
what do you see for Chiesa next, being the number 6 ranked in the welterweight division? Like, what do you really see like actually happening for Chiesa going forward?
I think I see him, and if he's smart, I see him playing the waiting game. I think he'll wait till a guy like the Gilbert. He obviously has to wait till the guy like Gilbert and Kamaru fight. So then he'll wait till that goes. Obviously, I think that maybe if he has the ability to kind of slide in with a guy like Colby, do it. You know what I mean? Talk your way into it, and that's what he did at the end of the fight. I don't know if you remember that. You know what I mean? It's the ability to do that, and now the kind of the whole thing is a guy like Colby Covington gonna acknowledge him and gonna play into it, play back into it, and start building that whole kind of thing up, or is he gonna stay with the Jorge Masvidal kind of whole plot line? Because there's a lot there, you know what I mean? 2 guys that were former friends, now turned enemies, kind of had a falling out, trained together at one point, you know what I mean? So there's that whole line as far as just even that being there, and I think that's always something exciting that we could look at. So I mean, like, he has kind of tried to talk his way into that Colby slot. So we will see. We will see what ends up coming from that.
Well, now we got to move on to the recap of this past weekend. I'm gonna start off with my boy Mike Chan and Hook. Now, great fight. Chan did what he's supposed to do. Chan did what everybody expected him to do, evidently. What I am not happy with is the way that he ended the fight, in a sense. And it's like he fought one lightweight. Okay? And a lot of these lightweights that are in the UFC, they all scratched, clawed, pawed, and pulled their way. Dan Hooker is one. Poirier is one. Khabib is one. Conor McGregor is one. All these top guys you see in the UFC, they did not come from King of the Cage or Bellator or one championship. They did not just come there, get one fight, and say, I'm the guy, give me the belt, and then they just became champ. They all scratched, clawed, pawed, ripped, dipped, slit, did everything they had to do to get in a position that they in to where you have to put some respect on their name. So in my personal opinion, I don't feel that Chandler right now, after fighting just one lightweight, I don't think he's in position for a title. And you haven't done shit in the UFC yet. Period.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Man, I don't disagree with you here. I'll split it here.
Okay.
I agree with the fact that you're saying he doesn't deserve a title shot. I'll sit here and I will wholeheartedly agree with that. One of the points I want to pick on right away is you said that he might have done what everyone thought he was going to do. I don't necessarily believe that whole fact because I think that a lot of people were counting out a guy like Michael Chandler. You know what I mean? And it's kind of even moved on now. You know what I mean? You would have almost wanted to see him get into a full fucking scrap with Dan Hooker. You know what I mean? Then people would have gone, okay. You know what I mean? There you go. There's a benchmark, right? But instead of him going in there and starching Dan Hooker, now it's kind of you could play it back into like a Ryan Garcia liver shot. You know what I mean? But I mean, there was no knockdown, right? You know what I mean? But even at the beginning of that fight, you felt it. You knew there was adversity from a guy coming from another division in a similar way to a knockdown. You know what I mean? He's coming from a different standing, having that belt in a different combat sport division like Bellator. So and he's fought some of the top guys, and he's fought some of the guys that have been in the UFC. You know what I mean? He's just coming off that Benson Henderson knockout, and people say, oh, Benson Henderson's washed. You know what I mean? But like, there is some top guys at lightweight in Bellator. Like, I don't think we'll sit here and argue that. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people out there that'll agree. I think you even agree with me. But I think that in reality, you're right with saying Chandler doesn't deserve a title shot right off the bat, and now it segues into pretty much perfectly where we can go from this. And it's like, and I'll just add to this on a little personal note. Loved watching Chandler win. Like I was saying, picking with Chandler all the way.
Number 4.
Sorry?
How was he the number 4 lightweight?
You saw me. I put it up there. Yep. He's now the number 4 lightweight.
How?
Because he just beat the number 5.
Okay.
I love, bro, the rankings are here, but listen, the rankings, like I'll always say it, the rankings I post in there because they're a good conversation topic. You know what I mean? Because they are kind of a little bit crazy. You know what I mean? I don't think that the rankings have ever, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? You can say, oh, Sean Shelby and all these guys make fights based off the rankings, but in reality, a lot more than that just plays into it. And these rankings are sometimes horseshit. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat that for you. The rankings are horseshit sometimes. I've seen bullshit rankings and stuff like that. Do I agree with Chandler slotting in at 4? Maybe not. I'd say maybe give him 5. You know what I mean? But but at the same time,
over. I just say I wouldn't mind if they gave him 6. I don't feel that he's above Tony Ferguson. I don't feel that he's above. I don't feel that. I don't feel he's above Tony Ferguson. I feel like Tony Ferguson has done way more in the game. I mean, he could take McGregor's spot because McGregor just got his ass beat, and you just beat the number 6 guy. So that makes sense to me to be 6 for Chandler, if anything. But 4 above Tony Ferguson, who the only reason why he didn't get his title shots is because of injury. Let's be correct here. It's injuries, not because he bitched out because he was hurt. It was injured. So you gonna put him above Tony Ferguson? Come on, man. I don't feel this. I don't feel it, Serge. I don't feel it.
I'm ready for you to give it the cannon, bro. I'm ready for you to slap that shit down, bro, and give it the cannon, bro.
I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I don't feel it at all. I don't feel it. It just no. It's bullshit. All bullshit.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Man, I think that one thing though that we can look at though, as far as the whole spectrum of the division goes, is that we need to see something cleared up with obviously Khabib. That's something that can always be talked about, right? Because now Dana's coming out after the press conference. People are asking him, what's Khabib's kind of final consensus? He's saying it's not looking like he's gonna fight. It's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think it is gonna happen this year. So I think that the belt will get relinquished, but Dana's always trying to pull for that extra fight. So what he likes to do is he won't strip you. Even Khabib's retired, right? Should already be stripped. He's still got the belt. So you know what I mean? So they haven't done anything with it yet. So what I'm thinking is they might even do is he might even keep that with Khabib, not do anything with it for a while, kind of leave it in, stall, you know what I mean, for a little bit. And then finally, you know what I mean, try and get Khabib a sniff onto something. Once they make a fight, maybe once he sees a weigh-in or something, maybe even once he sees the fight. But most likely they will strip Khabib the moment that title fight and whoever it is. Some people are saying that they should just give Poirier straight up the belt now. You know what I mean? Give him the belt back because Khabib's leaving. That's also an option too, right? So you got to think about that.
I agree with, and that's a good segue to touch on the Poirier McGregor fight, because I feel that was the title fight. That if anything, if Khabib, if you retired Khabib, the McGregor Poirier fight was a title fight. Cause if Dana would have really stripped your whole ass like he does everybody else, that would have been a shot for a vacant belt. Period. It would have been that gave Conor. It would have been Conor's opportunity to become a 2-time lightweight champion, and they'd have tried to use Dustin Poirier to boost that shit, all the shit, and then it would have been masterful because Conor got his ass beat, and it would have been great for Dustin Poirier if it would have happened. That I swear, if that would have happened for Dustin Poirier, and Dustin Poirier said, "Fuck y'all, I'm finna retire. Fuck this," I would not have been mad at him. Because I really feel like Dustin Poirier want to retire now. I really feel like looking at that man after that fight, that dude, like, bruh, that's the title fight. That's the, like.
Mm. And hey, man, he's been saying it. He's been saying it on Twitter. I'm the champ. Like, you know who the champ is. So I'm not opposed to them giving him the belt. And right before we go, because I know it was a great fight. I know it's one of those ones we want to touch on right away. I just want to skim over, because now we can always ask the question, right? With a ranking like number 4, and I know you don't like it, and now I also want to touch on another subject we saw, and I'm not sure about it yet, people, and I hope it's not true, but I was noticing even when I was watching it, and now kind of listening back, watching some other people talk about it, we saw Dan Hooker taking off those gloves kind of furiously in the octagon. Before that fight was even, the name was even called for Chandler, and his hand was raised. Both gloves were off. He then left both gloves in the octagon. There was I didn't see any interviews with reporters and stuff like that, which obviously I expect. The man did go through a lot just to even get to Fight Island, and now he has to stay there. No, I haven't seen anything yet. So, I mean, this could be me missing something. I absolutely could be me missing even just a journal interview, like not a facial cam interview, but I haven't seen anything yet. All I know is his family's there. Like I said, they got to spend 6 weeks there before they can go back to quarantine in New Zealand. So, I mean, best of luck to the guy. I really hope he doesn't retire, because I do think, like, everyone can get caught. Everyone can have a bad day, you know what I mean? And that was kind of an exception. That's kind of what we saw there. I mean, he did get timed up a little bit, and I did pick Michael Chandler to win that fight, but even still, like, hat goes off to Dan Hooker for going in there and taking that fight against a guy like Michael Chandler, stepping into the division, you know what I mean? It's such a high ranking. So now you go, where do both men go from here? As far as Hooker goes, we'll kind of leave him in the wayside and, hope he doesn't retire at this point. But as far as we talk about a guy like Chandler, and we look at guys like Charles Oliveira, Charlie Olives, as they were saying, maybe that could be a potential fight. But the problem is now they're already saying that's the fight for Poirier. And now Poirier and kind of Oliveira are kind of already talking about that fight. So maybe the fight will be they'll give Poirier the belt, and then they'll, you know what I mean, then they'll let Oliveira just challenge for it. You know what I mean? Like I said, out of respect, they'll give it back to Poirier, and then they'll make the fight Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. But I mean, as far as, like, it could go a bunch of different ways. Some people are even, I've heard RDA's name be put out in the mix. Obviously, Poirier versus Chandler. There's no way Poirier is going to take that fight as far as that goes, unless it's forced, and I don't even know if he would. As far as we obviously saw Chandler calling out Khabib, like you were saying, that kind of got you upset a little bit. But man, that's still some exciting, man. This is the thing. I remember this guy. I was a fan of him for years, like I was kind of saying in the last podcast and shit, and kind of going on about it. I got to stop saying it, but even before he had the Joe Rogan interview, and then it just popped up on my feed recently about the Joe Rogan interview, you know what I mean? And that's from 2+ years ago, almost 3. And that's when he's already talking about him thinking him just being crazy enough to think, I've got that blueprint to stop a guy. like Khabib. And he was saying it on Joe Rogan like almost 3 years ago. You know what I mean? He goes, you call me crazy and stuff like that, and you've seen me fight through adversity, and this is post leg kick losses and stuff like that. So, I think a guy like Michael Chandler, like I said, I would love to see that, but it doesn't look likely. Doesn't look likely as far as that. We could see a Gaethje fight I think a Gaethje-Chandler fight would be great.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would show where you at for real.
There
for
you
real.
go.
That's why I said, like, you beat one guy, it's like, okay, but I want to see you fight a couple of guys, at least 2 or 3. I ain't saying you got to fight like 5, 6 dudes.
Exactly.
You actually got to go through some losses and nothing like that. But if you beat 2 or 3 decent top level guys, especially if he, like, let's say if his next fight is against Justin Gaethje and he beats number 2 guy, arguably in the division.
Yeah, in the division. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he might need to get that strap, Dana. He might need to make that happen. Yeah. But other than that, no. No.
I hear that.
But it made a lot of money though. That card made a lot of money. 1.6 million.
Second in the record behind McGregor Khabib, but McGregor Khabib did like 2.3. That fight tied Conor Diaz 2.
What?
Yes, for buys. Apparently so far, because it's early, right? So we get some bullshit early all the time, right? Like, oh, this did this did that.
Wow.
So, but it's kind of crazy amount of buys. I think that obviously you put a name like Conor McGregor up there, it's gonna sell. I mean, now we can honestly kind of pick on where does a guy like Conor go from here.
I mean,
sorry about that. I think that's a little bit far fetched. We kind of haven't even capped off what happened in the fight, so we kind of saw, you know what I mean. Everyone saw it. I'm sure everybody
saw it. You know what I mean? It was kind of like Conor got calf kicked to death. Okay, couldn't handle them calf kicks because you stand in your karate stance. You haven't evolved. That's your flaw. That's how you get you calf kicks. And what I tell you, Serge, what did I tell you? Keep kicking that leg. You keep chopping them, and once you start seeing them pick that bitch up, you got him.
Yeah,
you got him. Soon as he start picking that leg up, got him. That it's starting to hurt. It's hurting him. It's hurting him now. He don't want to take them no more.
Man, it's crazy. It was just crazy that happened, and the fact that there was the whole. He even stood after round 1. Didn't even take the stool. Stood to, and he was talking about it after. I thought I could, let the swelling, the blood kind of rush through, and he goes, it all just piled up like an American football. You know what I mean? I can't do the accent, but it all piled up like an American football inside my leg. You know what I mean? Like my pantsuits are full right now with these from calf kicks. But I think it was a domination by Dustin Poirier. Man, so happy to see another guy like Dustin Poirier win. Like, it's crazy to see 2 guys that I love so much and I actually picked as well. Both win in co-main and main in such spectacular fashion, both being underdogs. Dustin Poirier, a huge underdog. But I think that what was nice was we saw Dustin Poirier kind of say to everybody, I don't give a fuck what you think. You know what I mean? And I'm going to do it in the most respectful way by going out there and sleeping Conor McGregor. You know what I mean?
Said, fuck you, fuck everybody, but I love you.
Yeah, I love you. And I'm a good guy. Yeah, but I'm going to knock him out. You know what I mean? That's what he did. He's like, I'm a good guy, but here's hot sauce. Here's everything. I'm a good guy. I'm still the same humble guy. And I built my way back up in the UFC since fighting him the first time. I'm gonna show you something. And he ended up doing that. So it was awesome. But like now I think we can get into it. Where does a guy like Conor go from here? Where does he go?
I think, and it's funny that you asked that because when you sent me that video, good versus bad, first thing that popped in my head, that's where he's going to go. It's exactly where he's going to go. Because this good Conor, this well-spoken, respectful, I love you, you're a father now, we have children and we're men, and we've grown and we've matured, and all the nice, lovely things that he was saying for this fight is going to be gone. He has to, because you got to think, in my personal opinion, part of the reason why Conor, and that is Conor, that's his personality, that's who he is. But I think it was also the hunger, the wanting to win, wanting to really prove and establish himself. I don't think it was really about him selling the fights. I think sometime in his career he realized, like, oh shit, like I'm selling the fuck out of these fights. Like, I'm gonna keep this rolling. But I think early on in the beginning, I think it was just all talk. And I think after the Aldo fight, that's when it was like, oh shit, I could talk this talk and sell this fight, and boom, you know what I'm saying? But I think prior to that, I'm not saying even after that it wasn't no hunger involved, because he still kicked ass after that. But I'm saying prior to that, just it was hunger. It wasn't just kind of just trying to sell shit. He didn't start trying to really just be about selling shit, in my opinion, until after he fought Jose Aldo. But I don't think he got that hunger in him no more. I don't think he got he got all the money. You know, he got all the endorsements. He's Conor McGregor. He's set for life. You know, he don't got to worry about going back to the slums. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what, you know, and I'm not saying he don't love it, but the hunger, the wanting that, I don't think he wants it enough, or he doesn't want it as much as he once did. And I think once he became double champion, that kind of was just like, I think that was, to me, that was it for him. Where I would say he would go next, I think he should not go do an exhibition in boxing. If he does, it'd just be a payday for him. But I'm saying MMA wise, I think you know, he should probably fight somebody on up and coming. I don't think he should worry about a top guy right now. I think he should kind of just talk some shit, get into some young kids' head, not too young, you know what I mean? You know, I wouldn't say fight like Chandler or Gagey. I would say fight maybe Ferguson. Fight Ferguson, you know, fight him. Maybe fight, you know, somebody else in the top 10. Don't go no lower than the top 10. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure if Conor go back to being old Conor and talking shit, I'm sure he can still get in somebody's head and make them do and think dumb shit. So I think he should still. I think Conor is still an elite guy. You know what I mean? But it was something that that you touched on about Conor is his left hand overrated now, and I don't think it is. I think his left hand is still his left hand. I think it's still fucking grenade in that motherfucker. I think it's still nasty. Because Poirier, you
that's
no. No.
Yeah.
No.
I hear that.
Poirier wasn't having it, bro.
I hear that. And kind of what it was, though, in kind of my whole thing for why we might have seen Poirier not having it at the beginning like that was DC kind of touched on it. You know, there was a mental, you know, he thought there was a kind of a, you know, a mental hurdle, a final hurdle, even though we had seen maturation in a guy like Dustin Poirier through the time since he had fought a guy like Conor McGregor, and they had that, you know, had that loss in like a minute 30. Man, it was that final hurdle of being able to take the power. You know what I mean? That's kind of what he was kind of referencing was, okay, once I take one of these, and then DC said I could see it while I was calling the fight. Once he took that first couple clean shots from Conor, and then you could see it. He felt it. He had a plan. He was ready to go. He was ready to work and execute what he had to do, especially once that final hurdle was hopped. And you don't want to be the guy, especially against a striker like Conor, like you said, he still does have the power and the pop to necessarily want to test that. You know what I mean? Can I take that shot? You know what I mean? Because for certain guys, you can't. You know what I mean? And you're going
not
down.
To cut you off, but Poirier said it in an interview that that kind of hurt him. He did hurt him, and he said if he would have pounced on him, it might have been a different fight because he did catch him. I'll send you, if you didn't see the interview, I'll send you the interview.
No, that's good.
He did say in the press conference that Conor hurt him with that left hand because they asked him, and it was like, huh. So it's still nasty. And then when I watched the fight, the way you could tell when Conor threw that left hand, boom, and oh shit. Okay, hold up. Let me reassess. So Conor's still dangerous. Conor is still Conor fucking McGregor. He still got fucking grenade launcher in that left hand of his. And I think, thinking about it just now, and I said Tony Ferguson or I said somebody top 10, but at the same time,
Tony Ferguson's a great fight, bro.
Yeah.
That's
but
a great
at the same
fight.
time, I think a Poirier 3 fight would be good for him too. Because they're 1-1. They're 1-1.
Yeah.
They both got a knockout over each other.
Yeah.
And at this point, Conor, it's personal. It's not business no more. Like this fight should be just as personal. This third fight should be just as personal as Diaz, and it should be just as personal as the second fight with Khabib, in my personal opinion.
I hear that. No, I can agree with that. See, I can agree with the fact that a third fight in a rubber match down the line is definitely one to be made, and that's definitely one that's gonna do numbers, and it's gonna probably compete with a Khabib fight. You know what I mean? Just have both of them having a knockout over each other, right? Conor not being a guy who gets knocked out. But I think at the same time, to give him the rubber match as another fight back, like right off the bat, we're talking. Well, he's on a 6-month medical suspension right now. You know what I mean? That's what they're calling it. So once he gets the leg, he can pass it and get out of the 6-month medical suspension. Once he gets the leg x-rayed and stuff like that, and the tibia and the fibia, and they go, okay, that's fine. So then he'll pass out of that. But now it's like, does he use the 6-month medical suspension? Does he want to hop right back in there right away with maybe a guy like, you're right, like Tony Ferguson? That might be too much of a fight for him. It's like, does he want something a little bit easier? It's a lot of questions now. I think that, man, I definitely think a Poirier rubber match is definitely going to come, and that's definitely down the line in the future. Now, not so much. I just don't think you can do it. I think there's too many guys that would really put up a fit about it, but obviously the UFC does what they want, and that's the kind of the beauty of it. At the same time, at the end of the day, they are the judge and jury. They make these decisions, and they live and die by them, and they can do whatever they want. They could have schedule that for 8 months down the line. You know what I mean? Both guys could agree on it. Yeah.
Real commercial.
Yeah.
We said his name, so I gotta see if you know anything, because I haven't heard nothing about him. Mm-hmm. You know anything what's going on with Tony Ferguson right now? Anything going on with Tony right now?
You're looking for a fight, I think. I think he's looking for a fight. He's looking to get back in there with a fight. No news. I haven't heard anything.
Me neither. That's why I've been looking.
No, exactly. I saw something in a headline and it wasn't even in it. But and it was something about him saying he would smash Poirier. And then I never saw it in the whole mix. It was never in there. And I went,
right.
Fuck. I went, okay, well, I wanted to see the tweet or whatever. You know what I mean? I think I saw some tweets. So when Nate Diaz was tweeting back towards McGregor after he got knocked out, saying everyone in this division gets knocked, all these MFers get knocked out, you know what I mean? And he kind of tweeted that. And then Gaethje tweeted back at him saying, oh, coming from the guy that doesn't even fight or whatever. And it kind of was along those lines. This is verbatim to keep it short. And then that kind of whole thing disputed. I thought that Tony popped in there at one point in time and made a shot at Nate as well for being a very inactive fighter as well. I think he might have, but I mean, like, for a guy like Tony Ferguson, I want to see him get back in there. I wouldn't mind a McGregor fight. I think a McGregor fight with Tony would do tons of numbers. You know what I mean? I think
dumb numbers.
Yeah, I think it would do dumb numbers. Better than the Poirier fight, I think. I think do better than 1,600. Just with the way that, because I think, like you said, it'd be a different McGregor coming into that one. You'd see kind of the crazy, arrogant, cocky Tony Ferguson. He'd be doing his whole thing, trying to get into with the sunglasses and everything, trying to get in Conor's face. Conor would be looking at him going,
who the fuck is this guy?
Exactly. He'd be saying, I'd be too stupid. I have so much material just to use by looking at you. You know what I mean? Let me work here, please. Let me work here. You know what I mean?
Oh, shit. That's the classic line, and that's funny that I said that, because when I look at all the films I've studied on Conor, they said that line was the line that like catapulted his career right there. Is when he said, "Who the fuck is that guy?" I love it. It's funny as shit, bro. It's funny as shit.
I mean, shouts out to a guy like Conor McGregor.
So Oliveira is. You think Oliveira is gonna is kind of making claims to get a title shot? Who you think is Oliveira gonna get next?
Well, it's like Oliveira's on a streak right now for winning. He just came off the short notice, 20-day notice Tony Ferguson fight, beating Tony Ferguson. You know what I mean? So it's like he's really got this claim, and I think Dustin's kind of in support of a guy like Oliveira getting the shot. So we'll see. I think Oliveira, like I said, might get this. Like I said, they might crown Poirier. They'll give him his belt back. But that's the whole thing. Are they gonna keep trying to get? Is Dana gonna keep trying to entice Khabib? Is Khabib gonna just give it up? Like, I think Khabib's giving it up. I think Dana's the one pushing for it. Like he's been saying, is Dana gonna keep it out there and wait till they step in the octagon to say this is for the belt, or is he gonna go? Poirier's the champion. Like I said, Oliveira's fighting for the belt. You know what I mean? So it's a weird way we could go about it. But I mean, like, I think a guy like Oliveira is probably going to fight a guy like Poirier. I think that's probably the most logical thing right now. I think he's looking at only going up at this point, and I don't see him fighting a guy like Gaethje. Like I said, I think a beautiful fight might be a Chandler Gaethje, but like I said, because I think that's a proving point. You know what I mean? If you do a Chandler Gaethje, I think that's a proving point, and then you can even right if you have Poirier beat Oliveira and then Chandler beats Gaethje, say like that happens, right? We're all talking theoretical at this point, people. Well, then you've got a guy like Chandler who's like you were already referencing, later in his career. We don't need to see too much of him before he kind of gets a shot, in my opinion. Like I said, 34 years old. The UFC has taken a guy on like Chandler to say, hey man, you were the champ in this division, you did this, and that. We're gonna run you through the paces. You know what I mean? We're gonna put you up there, and if you can say you can do this, we're gonna give you a shot to do it.
I'm telling you, if Chandler fuck around, and let's say, and this we saying this funny, I never intended to hype this man up in the podcast, but be funny if Chandler get a fight with Ferguson. That'd be funny if Chandler fight Ferg next and Ferg beat the shit out of that man. And then it's gonna be like, now what? But then on the flip side, if Chandler go in there and beat the shit out of Ferguson, then it's like, because Ferguson been the top dude in the lightweight division for a very long time. Very long time. So I don't know, but I do feel like Chandler is biting off a little more than he can chew at the lightweight division right now. Because I'm not saying like Chandler is in the high level because he's trained with the the Usmans of the world and all that. I understand that, but I mean, these dudes can scrap, man. These dudes can scrap, and these dudes been in scrapping with. You got to understand, UFC is top dude after 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 top dude. It's not. You don't have. I mean, it's like their top 10 is everybody else's top 5 or 3.
I hear what you're saying.
Other organizations.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're going to fight another top guy, and after that, you're going to fight another top guy. And the thing is, Dan Hooker is in a sense was the lower of the top guys, but Dan Hooker is still a top guy. So, and I think the way that he beat him, was one thing. The throw the straight right to the body, come back over with the left hook over the head. That was beautiful. That was a nice setup. But like I said, when he gets in there with somebody else that got them Holloway hands, and in there with somebody got them Holloway hands, it ain't gonna fall for them looping punches as much. I don't know.
I hear what you're saying.
I don't know, man. And I think Ferguson could be that guy. Hell, I don't think he can stand up to Conor's left hand too much. I don't think so. I think he had to take it to Conor and literally keep him on the cage, because if he's standing there with Conor and let Conor just tee off, you gotta maul Conor. You gotta maul him.
Yeah, I think it'd be a pace that Conor could never keep up with. I think it'd be a mauling, if not a knockout.
It'd have to be. It'd have. That's the
it
only
would
way.
Be a mauling. It would be a mauling. But it'd be, you know what it would be? It would be a good standing place for Chandler to say, well, this is where I rate against Khabib. And then he could almost make the argument, right? So there's a lot of these matches, these hypothetical matches that we can always talk about that are awesome. You know what I mean? Like, and you can go through the whole rankings and say, okay, this, that, and they all sound awesome. And you know what, people? That's why the UFC is such a great division. You know what I mean? Such a great organization that's able to offer us these type of fights, always keep us guessing with what we're going to get, because it's not always precise. And like I said, it's always fun. We're always going out there and we're always entertained, regardless of who's getting what number beside your name. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You always have that ability to go change the fight and win it in kind of any sequence you choose to win it. You know what I mean? Which is kind of exciting. So like I said, it could go a lot of different ways. Like I'm looking at the total Sherdog rankings at this point of the lightweight division, and and I don't want to be offensive, but there is a couple guys in this lightweight division that are ranked for Sherdog that that are their actual MMA rankings. There's not any Bellator guys in there. I mean, not even Chandler's on the list yet. I thought maybe I got him on an earlier updated list. Maybe this is an older one, but even still, no, this is brand new. But even still, I mean, it's still gonna be exciting. I'm still excited. Like it's still gonna be like if you look down, it puts a smile on your face because there's so many different matchups you could make. But like I said, I think a guy like Chandler, like I said, with the ability and what he kind of showed in this first fight, a lot of people are still doubting him. A lot of people are still not in belief or on the Chandler hype train yet. So that's totally okay. Like I said, he needs a fight to be able to prove that and kind of build that back for himself. So we will see what he has to offer, whether it's like a gate, like whether it's a Gaethje fight, whether it's maybe even he goes down the line and fights a guy like RDA. But I don't know. It'll be something exciting. It'll be something exciting.
Yeah. Now we got 6, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6. Put that up here. 6 title fights. 6 title fights in 6 weeks. That's a title fight a week. That a bitch.
It's crazy, man.
What we got coming up, Serge? Let me cook. Hold on. Let the doc cook. Go on, Serge.
We're privileged, though. This is kind of a privileged position to be in, to be able to get consistently. We get those fights right off the bat where they're so good. We get the 3 fights in 9 days, and now we're getting these 6 title fights in 6 weeks. We got on February 13th, we got Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert Burns at UFC 258. Then on March 6th, we have 3 different belt fights on the same card. And I mean, I think a lot of people have already targeted that card as, kind of one of those contenders to already be like a card of the year. And we've got Jan Blachowicz taking on Israel Adesanya for that light heavyweight strap. Like I said, that's at UFC 259 on March 6th. And then we've also got Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, also for the strap. And then we've got Amanda Nunes taking on Megan Anderson, also for the strap, like I already mentioned. All on March 6th, UFC 259, people. That's going to be an absolute, like I said, probably trying to set that pace for being a card of the year. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting to see something like that and see, whenever we get a bunch of title fights on one card, it's always exciting. It's just more rounds for these people to go show how professional, how skilled they are. So, I mean, like on March 27th, we get kind of the real kind of one that's going to, state a lot for this heavyweight division in the next couple of months, in the next probably year, as far as now we've got John Jones in the heavyweight division. We've got Stipe taking on Francis Ngannou at UFC 260. And that's, like, I mean, even there's already the early betting lines out for that. And I hitched on it last week. I brought it up just because I respect Stipe too much. A lot of people are counting Stipe out of this, or at least the odds makers are, because the line is dictating that Stipe is an underdog, even though, like I said, I think he won 50-40, 44 or something like that, or 50-45 or something like that in the first fight. And it was pretty much, you did show the different levels of the game as far as MMA go and as far as all that goes. So, I mean, like, I think that was kind of exciting. I think it was nice to be able to see that. I don't know if necessarily we can always say that, I mean, a guy like Stipe is we can count him out, or he's the guy that's going to be able to be there all the time. But you know what? I still believe in Stipe, and I don't think it's time to count him out yet. I think, in my opinion, they should have had, like I was kind of saying prior to this, they should have had the Stipe John Jones fight and had that for the title, and then had either man could have gone through Ngannou after. Obviously, Stipe might not be so inclined after he loses the belt, but I don't know, man. I think that we're missing out on a good fight with John Jones and Stipe. Maybe, hopefully, one day we'll see it. Like I said, I think he'll beat Francis Ngannou, but who knows? It can go anyway in the MMA game. As far as March 27th goes as well, we've got Alexander Volkonovsky taking on Brian Ortega. That's going to be a fight. I mean, we've seen Brian Ortega kind of increase his striking in the last little while.
Volkonovsky.
And just to go with the perfect kind of, the well-rounded game of Volkanovski. And of course, Brian Ortega's got that ground game, but now he's kind of just showing us in his last fight against the Korean Zombie that he was able to kind of, show a little bit of striking improvement. So I think that's going to be an exciting one to see. As far as this Friday goes, Boone, do you know, did you want to touch on the ONE FC at all and what was going on this Friday?
Well, no, not too much. I haven't really touched with the ONE FC. I've been kind of stuck on all this stuff that's going on with the UFC, man. Dana White keeping me busy.
Yeah.
Because you got me so caught up in what you doing.
Yeah.
Look at what the other people is doing.
I hear it.
I mean, shout out to Dana White for keeping me hella busy, because shit, with my kids and trying to make sure I got material for the cannon, this Woo! It's work, man. But I
hear
do
that.
want to cook on Tyron Woodley. I mean, he got a fight coming up and against a Vicente. What? Who is this guy? Who is this?
Vicente Luque has been in the UFC for a while. He's kind of one of those guys that I think I want to say, and I want to get the correct date on this as far as when he was in the UFC. I think I want to say it was sometime within 2009 or something like that. He was in the UFC. He's kind of a guy who's got the ability to do it all. He's kind of got that hard nose, kind of able to walk through shots, able to put pace on you. He's able to do kind of a little bit on the ground as well too. So I think that this fight, it's a hard look for a guy like Tyron Woodley, especially when we've seen kind of a formula to already beat him. I think that a guy like Vicente Luque, who's hard nosed as fuck, is going to want to walk right through him. You know what I mean? He's going to say, well, okay, here's what we've seen in Tyron Woodley's past 2 fights. I believe both stoppages. Okay, let's walk right through him right now. I'm going to go use the same thing I've normally been using. We've seen Tyron be very gun shy, not kind of stick to his normal tactics, kind of not even know who he is anymore as a fighter, which is it's sad to see.
I don't know who this new dude is, man.
Yeah.
Tyron, I know, killer. He come after you, he hit you, he hurt you, he get you out of there. It's like, Tyron, you know you still hit hard, bro. You know if you hit him, it's like he stopped hitting hard all of a sudden. I don't understand. Like,
I know, and usually they say like the power's the last thing to leave. I think it's a mental thing. I truly do think it's a mental thing. I think it's something going on with maybe possibly after he lost that strap to Kamaru or something like that, or something.
But Kamaru couldn't. I think Kamaru could out wrestle him. I think Kamaru Usman could out wrestle a lot of people. But I think if Tyron would have touched him, because he didn't look like Tyron. He did not let his hands go. He didn't do nothing. He just kind of it's like after, it was like that was the beginning. To me, that was the beginning of the end for Tyron. It was like, bro, once he fought Kamaru Usman, it was like that was the beginning of the Tyron that won't do shit. That's the beginning of the Tyron that just gonna stand there and just let you do whatever. And I just feel like that's not real, bro. Like that's like what happened? Like what happened?
I hear that. I mean,
crazy.
In reality, for this fight, like I was saying, it's gonna be an absolute tough one. I was a little bit off on my timing as far as when Luke entered the UFC, a couple years off, way off. But regardless of that, like I was saying, similar to what I was saying before, a guy who's able to kind of walk through a lot of people, and I think that it's a bad matchup for Tyron Woodley. Like I said, if Tyron Woodley's not able to get out of this mental slump, able to clear his brain and get back on the right path, I think that it's good night for Tyron Woodley, or at least he's gonna be it's gonna be a quick night at least. So it's not something I want to see either. I would love to see Tyron Woodley come on and put a scrap on against Vicente Luque, but I just think Vicente Luque is gonna have that extra oomph, that extra cardio, that extra ability, the hard nose to just step to Tyron Woodley and deliver those shots that are pretty much either gonna put him out or make him at least afraid to throw. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see about that fight. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think that it's definitely a step up. Like I said, like I was saying before, Tyron Woodley ranked at 7, Vicente Luque at 9. So hopefully we'll see Vicente Luque move up again and then, make his way up to the top of welterweight division. You know what I mean?
Right. Now in MMA news, we got this Darren Till situation. It was going to let you go to work on that. Didn't really much about it. So what's going on with Darren Till, Serge?
Nah, man, it was just a funny little thing I wanted to include in there. I don't know if a lot of people saw it. He's been calling himself Karen Till now. He's edited his UFC photo with the Karen haircut on it, and it was because of an incident with police. It kind of happened similar to the exact same time as the big main event was going on, I think, and we were all kind of talking about it. I didn't see the video till after, but it was a riot. It was hilarious. Ended up that someone ended up stopping Darren Till very quickly about a police officer ended up stopping about not wearing a mask, and they kind of got into it, and the guy was kind of a dickhead to him, and he let him hear it. There was some funny exchanges, so people I I would choose that all you guys go see that because he went live, right? He went live to, I'm going to protect myself in case anything happens. I'm going live, and that's when he started mouthing off, and it was pretty funny. But you could tell the cop was also trying to pull some sly shit. Also, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to check your tire pressure now," like, you know what I mean? And just a bunch of sly shit for him, not having a mask for 5 seconds, apparently going in to get a water from the gas station. So I mean, there's that in the news. I don't think that's very high level of a topic, but I mean, this is something we could probably cook on for a minute, and it's not something we want to give too much shine for.
It's just something that just happened that just came across my radar. I just wanted to touch on it. Some people might not know. I mean, that's kind of like him being more political, kind of doing the Kobe Covington type of thing, or in my personal opinion, it seemed more political than anything. Just something I want to touch on. But what a lot of people are talking about that I really didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Didn't want to talk about, but because you represent MMA in poor fashion, we got Ben Askren and Jake Paul in a supposed this is a real MMA fight or this is an exhibition?
Well, this is boxing.
It's boxing. You got Ben Askren.
This is.
You got. I didn't even know, people. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. Serge just put me up on this recently, and I was like, "Oh, okay, they supposed to fight." I didn't know if they was doing MMA or boxing. I didn't know what it was. I just knew they talking about fighting. Yeah, so you mean to tell me, in front of God and everybody, that Ben Askren is not thinking about actually finna get his whole ass in the ring with Jake Paul, and he can't throw hands for nothing. Nothing.
Nope. Nada. Nothing. I mean, it's one of those things too. We've seen. Oh man, we've seen guys like Damian Maia outstrike him. Like we've obviously seen him get knocked out by Jorge Masvidal. Like we haven't ever seen Ben Askren show a high level of boxing ability. And he's already at 36. He's taking on the much younger guy in Jake Paul. Like I don't want to give him a lot of shine either because he's just trying to build a resume off of.
He's getting a check.
He's just trying to get a check and a resume. And so, Askren at this point, retired, is also trying to get the check as well. And if he can do this, then of course that's a good way to do it. You know what I mean? So
check. That's all Ben Askren care about. He care about that check because they go into the boxing to get that check.
Exactly.
That's all that bullshit is. I didn't even know. I'm gonna leave that alone right now. Leave that alone.
That'll be for another time.
I'm gonna move on from that because I don't want to. That's boxing.
Absolutely.
Khabib says that Dana says Khabib is not coming back. Most likely, what he will see is the title being shifted.
Oh, we were already kind of saying this. We kind of already touched on this earlier. That's
so basically the same thing we were saying earlier about basically Khabib being stripped of the belt. What I really wanted to cook on. What I really wanted to cook on towards the end, I didn't want to cook on it too early. I really didn't. Well, it's not early anymore. It's pretty early.
No, it ain't early. An hour's about perfect for this type of episode. Perfect.
Robert Whittaker, Paul Costa. I want to cook on that.
Okay.
I'm going with Whittaker. UD.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm going with Whittaker UD, Whittaker got dumb chin, dumb heart, and I think everything that Costa is gonna bring to the table. Not saying Costa don't got no pop or nothing like that. I give him that, but just Whittaker was. I don't think Costa hit harder than Romero.
Yeah, for sure. That's for sure.
Not one bit. So I think Whittaker is going. I mean, I hope Whittaker don't have a prolonged career because he kind of block punches with his face too much. So, but I do see him showing real heart, real grit, and just kind of just wearing Costa down. Like this motherfucker just gonna keep coming. He not gonna stop. Like I'm hitting him with the kitchen sink. I'm hitting him with everything and the kitchen sink, the oven, the refrigerator. He's not going down. He's not stopping. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a guy that couldn't be finished by top dude. Like this guy cannot. Who is knocking him out? Who is knocking Whittaker out?
You already know. There's only pretty much been one guy other than in the last I want to say 6 years that's done it, and it's Israel Adesanya. All the way back in 2014, there was Stephen Thompson who was able to do it, and then that's it until That's it in the rest of his career. It's been 2 guys. So.
Who's the second guy?
Stephen Thompson and Israel. That's it. 2 top guys.
That's it. So, and Israel beat the shit out of Costa. So, I don't see. I'm just going with Whitaker because I ain't gonna lie. I picked who did Whitaker fight for the belt? I forgot who Whitaker for when he first got the belt. When he very first got the belt, I forgot who he fought, but I didn't think he was gonna win. Then when he was in there with Yoel Romero, I was like, Yoel Romero finna beat the shit out of Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm tired of betting against him.
I hear that, bro. I think it might have been Derek Brunson. I think it was either Derek Brunson or Jacare Souza. It was one of the two, but I think it was Derek. Oh, no, it wasn't Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson never had a belt. It might have been. No, it was Yoel. You're right. It had to be Yoel. I don't think he had the belt going, and maybe it was Jacare. Maybe now I'm skipping on myself. Now I can't even remember. But regardless of that, you're right. You're right as far as saying there's been a kind of a well-rounded ability of guys that have been thrown at him that haven't been able to really put him out. We've seen him on stilts before, kind of hobbling around the octagon, almost half put out before by guys like Yoel Romero who can hit hard, who can crack. And he's just gone a 3-round unanimous decision, which he looked great against Cannonier. That was a long time ago before I even had a channel. I picked against Whitaker in that fight. I picked Cannonier. You know what I mean? I was saying, Cannonier down 3 weight classes. You know what I mean? Now he's had this rise. I'm picking Cannonier. So, but even then, and I was super impressed with Whitaker, and I went, why did I doubt Whitaker? And then we saw him in the Till fight, right? And we saw kind of a feint fest. We saw both guys throwing hard, landing some good shots, but very, very close fight that went 5 rounds. So we know, and we've even seen him, go both 5 rounds in 2 hard-fought battles that could have gone either way with Yoel Romero. I agree with you. I'm taking Whitaker in this fight. I don't want to get too into it much now because I'll be doing a breakdown when we get close to these people.
That's what I'm saying. Don't do too much.
But I think that it's probably going to be a knockout. I don't think Paulo Costa makes it to 5 rounds. I just don't think he does. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Obviously, anything can go different. But it's like, man, when have we seen Paulo Costa get in there with a guy that can hit hard like that for 5? You know what I mean? Because I've been hearing that's a 5-rounder. You know what I mean? That fight's going to be a 5-rounder, and that's probably going to be a huge. Okay, can you take the shots for 5 rounds from Whitaker? Can you take the punishment for 5 rounds, 5 straight rounds?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, right? Like I said, you can take Yoel Romero, bro. I mean, you can take some shit. You can take Yoel Romero. My personal opinion.
I hear that.
Dude, crack.
Yep.
That's why I'm mad that he fought Israel. Like,
I hear that, bro. I hear that. I see what you're saying.
Oh my God. I was like, really?
Yep.
It's not really. That's how all the times that I could say somebody showed up for a check that I don't want to say showed up for a check, especially in MMA. Yo, you showed up for a check. You showed up for it. Okay? You showed up for a check. You did.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
You showed up for a check. You did. For that, you get the check.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Bullshit, yo. You should have gave Israel a lot more to think about. For real. My personal opinion. But I'm glad that Whitaker is getting the opportunity to prove himself again. I like Whitaker. I think Whitaker is a good dude. I think he deserves the opportunity at a possible title shot. I mean, personally, because he's a top guy in my opinion. Yep. And it's not too many dudes that's in the division that could really do too much with him, in my opinion. But that's what I think. But since we didn't pretty much went through the topics and we got some time, let's get to the comments. We able to talk to the folk. Yeah, we got MMA Champ. MMA Champ is in the building. What's up? I'm glad you're excited. Glad you're excited, bro. Glad. I think he was talking about
the fights early. That was way early, man. That was way early. It was like 6-7 minutes in.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, we appreciate all the love here, people. We're thinking about in the future incorporating a lot more media, probably next week. being able to show you some pictures, punch stats when we're going over stuff as far as, stuff we've already looked at and stuff like that for fights, right? Because we're gonna do one next Tuesday, and then we'll give our breakdown on the main event like we normally do. Probably do co-main as well. But like I said, that's for next Tuesday's kind of show. We'll talk about that next Tuesday. No point in getting into that now. And then because we got no UFC this weekend, but still we got some One Championship on Friday, which I think I'm going to watch. It's in the morning. Should be a good couple of fights on there that are pretty intriguing, I've heard. So yeah, people, I appreciate it. Like I said, we're going to try and get some more media going on this channel, showing you guys a little bit more than our ugly mugs, while we're talking the whole time. So yeah, we appreciate everyone sticking by and showing us love and shooting a like, shooting a share, because it really helps us out. You know what I mean? I think you muted, bro.
Basically, he's saying Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor fight again, and then Gagey Oliveira fight, and the winner of the Gagey Oliveira fight is number one contender and fights the winner of Poirier McGregor 3.
Mm-hmm.
It says if Dustin doesn't want a rematch, which I think he will, they will try to make Conor versus Hooker to get him back on the horse. Either that or Diaz 3. What you think, Sarge?
I was saying before when I was kind of calling it, like last week when we were talking about it, and I was saying, I think that Poirier's going to win. I was saying they're going to go Diaz 3. But I don't know. I just think that might be a fight that they're going to look to try and make. It'll do numbers, you know what I mean, automatically. Like I said, it's honestly, I think if Conor looks at it, as far as Conor looking at it to try and get back in the win column, you know what I mean, and try and a Diaz fight might be a good fight for him. You know what I mean? As compared to some of these guys that we've already listed. You know what I mean? Like a Tony Ferguson or something like that. So a Diaz might be a better fight, especially if he makes Diaz come down and fight that fight at lightweight. Obviously not fighting that fight.
Got you.
Up.
What's up, Toad? What to do with it?
What's up, man?
WMMA. What's going on?
What's going on, man?
For sure. Appreciate you, Loke. Thanks for sliding through. Yes, Askren versus Paul is terrible for boxing. Yes.
Yep.
And since you put that comment up, I'm coming, Loke. Don't worry. I see what's going on. I'm coming. Just wait. Because I got some shit to say, but I'm not going to say it here. But it's coming.
Absolutely.
Shane, what ice? What'd you do? Yeah.
I think a lot of people like him. So and it's another thing I don't want to touch on real quick, but it's like, actually I won't even bring it up. But it's like the impopularity with some of these fights, right, that we're seeing nowadays is
right.
Do people want to see some of these bullshit fights with some of these entertainers? No, you know what I mean, and that's kind of. But a lot of people do that are casuals, and a lot of people that do that are not fans of the sport. You know what I mean? So you can always look at it as people are, you're trying to bring people at least to the sport to become a fan.
Mm-hmm. He said, dude, his name Whitaker for a reason. What's up, Dragon Leg? Got Dragon Leg in the building. What's up with you? You got to catch me on Boxing Talk. You got to catch me on the Boxing Talk, bro. I appreciate you asking the questions, but you got to ask me them questions when I'm on the Boxing Talk, man. It's MMA Talk, man. It's Combat Cannon, man. Appreciate it, though. But, you got to catch me because I know my Boxing Talks be hella random, but you got to catch me on the Boxing Talk, man. What I wanted to talk about, what I just tell you, you got to catch me on the Boxing Talk, and I'm a cook. Catch me on Boxing Talk. We gonna cook. Because I was just talking to Two Hands earlier. I ain't gonna say too much. Just talking to Two Hands this morning. And we ain't too thrilled about what's going on. So I'll be cooking on that some other time. Which Which is the Askren versus Paul fight worse for boxing or MMA if Askren loses? What would be worse for Askren if he lost in a boxing fight or an MMA fight?
Oh man, I obviously if he lost in an MMA fight to a guy like Jake Paul, that would be worse. You know what I mean? But because I think that a lot of people are already writing off, and the joke's already the meme that's going around is now let's write off Ben Askren. The MMA community is like, you're not even a part of us anymore, man. You've been retired. Shoosh, you know what I mean? Like, you're not. What MMA fighter are you? So people have been making those jokes, but man, it's one of those things. I don't even want to see him box. I don't really want to even see Ben Askren active again. But at the same time, I'm happy for Ben Askren as far as him getting a bag. You know what I mean? I can always respect a guy who's retired in a sense, who's at least, I don't even know. And it went in, his name got in the hat so randomly with a guy like Jake Paul, just over Twitter beef, you know what I mean? Over random tweet outs and stuff like that. That's kind of crazy.
I'm saying, man. Yeah, bro. It's gonna go down, bro. Just tune in, bro. Cause I'm not really too keen on what's going on. But like I said, tune in for Boxing Talk. But as I've said, I want to thank everybody for sliding in. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Serge, any closing thoughts before we get up out of here?
Man, people, this is, like I'm saying, appreciate the love and support, people. Come subscribe to my channel if you want to talk more MMA all the time. I'll probably be going live later this week doing some sort of a talk. As far as everything else goes and the betting goes, people, we're doing great this year already. We're trying to make some money. We're trying to have a good year. Make more money, buy some cool shit. You know what I mean? Come on, join in. Even if I lose, it's exciting. If you guys haven't seen the reactions just from the last fights, man, we were all a little sauced. We were having a good time enjoying ourselves. It's kind of like a little community since, we got a lot of this bullshit going on in the world right now. So come on, join down. If you want to watch fights with us, you want to hop in, come on down. It's awesome.
For sure, man. Like I said, man, appreciate everybody for coming in. And tune in next week, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, right here, DT3 the Boom Beezy, and MMA Bet Surgeon, a.k.a. Dr. Spock, a.k.a. the Doctor. Tune in, because he got to go to surgery. He's going to have to cut some shit up. You know how we work. You know how we do. So tune in next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time with me, DT3 the Boom Beezy, and MMA the Bet Surgeon for the Combat Cannon. And shots will be fired. We out.